What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Real quick before I get into it, I haven't asked in quite a while, and my focus here has been good quality Detroit Lions content. But real quick, hit that subscribe button. We have a goal in mind before the season starts. We're only 4 weeks away, 28 days as it sits today, Sunday, August 11th. Help us out. If you're watching, Detroit Lions fans, just click that subscribe button. Won't ask again for a while, but let's get into it. I listened to Dan Campbell's press conference today, and some unfortunate news about Hendon Hooker. His concussion protocol not available today in practice, unlikely to be available tomorrow. What does that mean for the Detroit Lions moving forward? Unlikely to practice until maybe Tuesday at the earliest. And what does that mean for his game on Saturday? I think Hendon Hooker has been talked about quite a bit this offseason. If we weren't talking about like draft stuff or contract extensions, I feel like Hendon Hooker was coming up quite a bit on this channel and some other stuff that I've seen out in the world on like TikTok and all that stuff. A lot of people are interested in Hendon Hooker, and we finally got a glimpse of him this past Thursday, and he played well. He was the most exciting player that the Detroit Lions had, especially offensively. We all suffered through that first half, watching Nate Sudfeld, who I'm going to mention here in a minute. Second half rolls around, and I was expecting Hendon Hooker, just like I said in my pregame show, I was expecting it to be split 50-50, Hendon Hooker to get the whole second half. When he came in, he had a couple drives, and he was very efficient. Threw the ball very well, made some good reads. There was a couple plays I could tell he wanted to chuck it a mile, went through his progressions, hit some more safer routes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, I said on record in our game day show the other day that I would rather see him work the ball down the field 5, 6, 7, 8 plays and score points instead of a 60-yard bomb. So I liked what I saw from Hendon. And then we saw some stuff that as Detroit Lions fans we haven't seen in quite a while, with some of the stuff that Hendon Hooker can do outside of the pocket, using his athleticism on some QB boots, getting some first downs with his legs, trucking some guys. Like, we saw a lot of stuff that we haven't seen in a Detroit Lions quarterback in quite a while. I really threw out the reference of Jeff Garcia. It's been that long to me. I mean, Stafford wasn't mobile. Jared Goff's not really mobile. We've just kind of not had that. It was a nice little refresher to see. I was very impressed with Hendon Hooker's play. I thought he played very well. And like Dan said, limited playbook, limited options. It just kind of seemed like he was running a vanilla offense, but that's kind of what I expected. And even with that vanilla offense, Hendon Hooker was still pretty exciting. So Saturday, like I said, is he going to play? And I said it the other day that I wasn't just going to give Hendon Hooker the QB2 role just because Nate Sudfeld's butt cheeks. I can't just say that you deserve it because one guy played really bad. And Hendon did play good, but I wanted to see just a little bit more, just a little bit more before I'm ready to hand him the reins and say, hey, if something happens to Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker can come in. And it's fun to picture and say, well, you got to imagine Hendon Hooker with the first string offense. Yes, it does create a whole new universe of dynamicness and excitement because he's just another piece in that offense with the first string that you'd have to account for. He's athletic. He can throw it a mile. He can hit the short stuff. I want to see him just kind of settle down. So I'm not ready to say he's quarterback 2 yet. I'm real close. And I was really hoping that Saturday against the Chiefs, and something could still happen. Dan just kind of hinted that maybe he's not going to be ready and maybe they're just going to take it slow and play it safe, which is the right thing to do. If we're talking concussions and head injuries, that's absolutely the right thing to do. But if something changes and Hendon does get into the game Saturday against the Chiefs, that is an opportunity where if he plays just like he did on Thursday, longer, more sustained, and just keeps building off what he did in that short appearance he had the other night, I will be ready to say that he's quarterback 2. I just can't say that yet. Nate Sudfeld was so bad that I almost have to give the job to Hendon Hooker. And I think Dan Campbell kind of agrees because he came out and said that the Detroit Lions are, I'm paraphrasing here, don't take, this isn't a direct quote, but he pretty much said him and Brad Holmes have talked about adding another quarterback. And then that could come as soon as tonight, August 11th, or tomorrow, August 12th, that we could have some news about a quarterback coming to Detroit. So I rewatched the interview a handful of times, trying to just kind of focusing on that 30-second area where the question was asked, trying to find a key word. What I really am good at is picking up breadcrumbs. And I couldn't find anything that Dan Campbell hinted at. I think he was very, very careful with his words and his selection. He didn't say we were looking to sign a quarterback or acquire, just said add. We're looking to add a quarterback. So it really is just the doors are wide open for speculation. Is it going to be a trade? Is it going to be Ryan Tannehill who's still sitting out there? I just posted an episode yesterday with some realistic trade options, including Ryan Tannehill, that we could sign off free agency as possible quarterbacks that we could bring in. So I don't know. I was really hoping Brad would maybe slip up and say we're looking to either sign or make a move, but he didn't. He used the word add, and that could be either one of those things, in my opinion. So I don't know what the plan is. I do expect we'll have another quarterback on this roster before Saturday's game. If there's one thing I absolutely can't do, and it would be a miserable Saturday night for me this coming week, is if I have to watch Nate Sudfeld play 4 quarters of football, because I don't want to see Jared Goff. I don't want to see Jared Goff in the first string offense, which Dan Campbell also hinted at, that maybe some of the starters get some playing time. It would really just depend on practice this week. I hope it's a good practice, because I don't want to see any starters on there. I was kind of on the fence when I did my game day episode. I kind of thought maybe Jameson Williams would play, and there's plenty of people to point out how stupid of an idea that was. So apparently I was wrong. JMO didn't play, but going forward, I don't want to see the starting offense out there. The offensive line, the running backs, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff, St. Brown. I don't want to see any of them. So I'm hoping for some good play. And Brad Holmes mentioned that he's on the fence with how he's going to feel about that. So if Jared Goff's not playing and Hendon Hooker's not cleared, or maybe he's just not ready with this whole concussion thing that's going on, I can't watch Nate Sudfeld play 4 quarters of quarterback. I absolutely can't do it. I'll have to try to, I don't know, do I watch the game on mute? Do I put a blindfold over my eyes? I mean, I have to pay attention to what's going on. It's my job to come on here and talk about what's going on with the Detroit Lions. So I will have to suffer through that. But I'm hoping that the Detroit Lions, like they said, today or tomorrow, we have some news about what's going to happen, adding some roster, mainly quarterback depth. I threw out names, and I'm not going to do a full dive. I'll tag the video that I talked about some options at the end of this episode. Guys like Taylor Heineke, Case Keenum, Ryan Tannehill, who's a free agent. I threw out the name Jameis Winston. There's some options out there. I looked at every team's depth chart and just kind of said, who's carrying a lot of quarterbacks? And I don't know who another team would cut or be willing to trade. I'm not sure how other teams feel about their quarterbacks or how they're playing or how their practices are going. It was just kind of spitballing some realistic names. I'm not 100% sure, guys, but I do know I can't watch Nate Sudfeld anymore. I can't. All the stuff I heard all offseason and training camp about how he's taken a step forward, I didn't see that on Thursday. I didn't. And I'm not, we can sit here and blame the rain and a wet football, a wet field, terrible offensive line play. If you go back and watch that, there were some times where Nate Sudfeld just flat out missed, didn't get through his reads, had time, was out of the pocket, created time, and still made bad decisions. It's just not good quarterback play. There's a lot of players on this team battling, fighting for roster spots, their livelihood, their careers in the NFL. Mainly these wide receivers depend on quarterback play from Nate Sudfeld. Get him some looks, get him some targets, get him some catches. That's not happening with how Nate Sudfeld's playing. He's costing people their opportunity. And I've said that since the beginning of the offseason. I didn't want to watch it again. I wanted Hendon Hooker to come in, give us some better looks for some of these receivers trying to make the team. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Isaiah Williams, Darius Fountain. These are guys who are fighting. They're not going to fight on game days. There's no point if they're getting shitty quarterback play. They're not going to be able to showcase what they can do. It's going to cost them. It's going to cost someone a job. So I'm excited to see what the Detroit Lions add. If that's tonight, I'll hop back on here, talk about it, maybe go live, have a little interaction with you guys. So leave some comments down below. Please, please, please hit that subscribe button, guys. I don't ask often. Please help me out. Stick around. I'll be back later with another show.